seems like this is also the place where everybody likes to look past your shoulder to see if there's somebody better to talk to.
And you always feel bad while you're doing it, but
you just admitted you're doing it.
The worst is when you finish one convo and then the people you were talking with, you turn around and they're all gone. You're like, oh, so I got it. So I just find someone to talk to.
So I just got. All right, welcome back to Scoop City, another Combine edition. Don't forget to like and subscribe because obviously this offseason we got you covered with pretty much everything. Remember, Chase Daniel and I breaking down quarterbacks. That's on here. We have all the wonderful, outstanding, and talented reporters in our stable that will be joining me nonstop throughout this offseason. We have Paul Danner Jr. is going to be joining me about the Bengals in this episode. Zack Rosenblatt talking about the Jets. What are they going to do at quarterback? We'll get to the bottom of it. But we are going to start with my good buddy, Mike DeFabo, covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a lot going on there in the Steel City. It was kind of a Donald Trump motion there. I didn't really care for it. Mike, what did you take from Omar Khan's kind of comments as we're all kind of just circling, essentially, Aaron Rodgers and the timeline of that because it was so extended last year? What did we learn from what Omar kind of said to us at the Combine here about what that timeline could be in 2026?
Yeah, I think that was the most interesting thing that he said is that he does not expect it to go like last year. And my read on this, and you always have to be careful when we're talking about Aaron Rodgers because trying to predict what he'll do in when is a dangerous game. But my read based on that was the Steelers have a strong sense that they're going to get an answer from Rodgers and that they think it's more likely than not he's going to come back to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And we also have been getting this kind of sense for a while now. First it was the owner, Art Rooney II, saying he's leaving the door open. Then it was Mike McCarthy saying that he definitely would like Rodgers back. Now it's Omar Khan repeating some of these same things, and so it certainly seems like that is the most likely outcome. But until it happens, obviously it's still Aaron Rodgers.
For sure. And you know, the outside is going to put it together this way, Mike, right? Like they hired Mike McCarthy, somebody who has a previous relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Most people around the league believe if they hired anybody else, Aaron Rodgers would most likely not be coming back. How do you either deter that thinking and just say they would have hired Mike McCarthy no matter what to Steelers fans that are asking that question, or is that directly related at all to Aaron Rodgers in the reporting that you've done?
Well, I mean, the Steelers have tried to make it abundantly clear that they did not hire Mike McCarthy to entice Aaron Rodgers. They told Diana that. They told me that. They made that very explicitly clear because I think that they are concerned about that narrative and that you could certainly put together.
It's pretty easy to piece together. That's why people are making it, obviously.
Right. But ultimately, the reason why they brought in Mike McCarthy is his track record working with quarterbacks, the way that he was able to develop and unlock Aaron Rodgers, the fact that he's worked with Brett Favre, the fact that you can go back further and further and further and has been in the same quarterback room as guys like Joe Montana back in the day. So the Steelers are in this current position where Mike Tomlin's tenure soured at the end because of the fact that they were unable to identify, draft, and develop a quarterback. Their only way out of their current purgatory is to identify, draft, and develop that quarterback. And so they're counting on Mike McCarthy to get that done.
Could that potentially be a quarterback that's on the roster? I know that Mike likes Will Howard.
Right.
What is the sense of his chances of being that next quarterback, the guy that's already in your building after, well, I guess we could say it if Aaron comes back or not. Does he have a legitimate chance to be the next quarterback? Will he get that look?
You know, we're going to have to see, but they have been saying good things about him. And I know that members of the scouting department were high on Will Howard. They were very happy to get him where they were able to, you know, near the end of day 3, really. It was the tail end of the draft. And I think that they would have taken him much earlier if they thought that they needed to. So you've got the scouting department, now you've got the head coach, and then yesterday Omar Khan saying, hey, we're looking for this next 10 to 15-year guy. Maybe we have it on the roster. So I will say that Aaron Rodgers was a very willing mentor to Will Howard. Will Howard was all about soaking up every bit that he could get from Aaron Rodgers. So of the people who benefited last year from Aaron Rodgers being a Pittsburgh Steeler, Will Howard has to be near the top of that list. And so ultimately, will he get that chance? I think the preseason games are going to be very significant for him to establish if the Steelers don't draft a quarterback this year. is he going to get that opportunity in 2027?
That's a really good point, because you have limited, you might, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, limited opportunities to show the coaching staff that. And if you can do that in the preseason, you at least put it in the back of their mind that, hey, we saw him in the game setting, and actually we saw some things we really, really liked. We could talk about the quarterback position this entire time, but we do have to move around to some other spots. Where do you find the need for this team as we're in this offseason? It's just a fascinating, to me, roster in the way that it's constructed. Where do you see the need? As a second receiver? Is it, that's
what it is.
Okay.
It's got to be wide receiver, because you go back to 2 years ago, the depth chart was George Pickens, a guy with star potential, and then a huge gap, and then everybody else. And last year they reshuffled their deck, but they basically recreated the same situation. DK Metcalf, a huge gap, and everybody else. And I think that they realize that just isn't the way to function. And especially as they make this transition from an Arthur Smith offense to a Mike McCarthy offense. Arthur Smith would build an offense using only tight ends if you would let him. And they tried to allow him to do that by bringing in Jonnu Smith. And they tried to say, well, he's an REC, is what Tomlin used to say. Well, now as you move to Mike McCarthy, a guy who's going to want to run 11 personnel, 3 wide stuff much more frequently, you have to give him the tools at his disposal. So I think that if it's not, I think the most likely outcome is they draft a wide receiver in the first round. I think that that's probably where this is headed, but ultimately, how the draft shakes out will also play a role in that.
Exactly. That's a huge part of this. And talking to people here throughout the last couple of days, I mean, there's teams out there that think that 5-6 receivers could go in the first round. This is a deep wide receiver class for sure. I think it does fit what the Steelers somewhat need, because what this receiver class is lacking is that number one type of X type of receiver. That guy's not really in this group in a lot of people's minds when you ask them. But man, are there a lot of different flavors that can help your offense that are unbelievably talented. They're just not that DK actually type of player. So I do feel like the Steelers are in a good spot, considering the one thing that's lacking in terms of skill set in a very deep, talented receiver group in this draft is already filled on this roster, which I think is a plus for when you're looking and evaluating those other guys at the spot. Where else could we be seeing? I mean, there's 5 picks in the top 100, I think, for Pittsburgh. So
yeah, they've got a ton of picks.
Yeah, where do you see them also just kind of hoping? Sometimes it's reloading too. You might have a spot, but the board falls to where it's somebody, obviously you think so highly of, you can't pass. Because there's aging guys on the roster, too, so it's not the worst move to do that.
Absolutely. Well, they've got 12 draft picks, and the draft is in Pittsburgh, and I think they're going to make a splash, even if it's not landing a quarterback, because Omar Khan earned this reputation and the nickname from Mike Tomlin, the con artist, because of his aggressive maneuvering within the draft, and now he's got tons of draft capital to do so. So other positions, cornerback, absolutely. They've got Joey Porter Jr. He's going into the 4th and final year of his rookie contract. He's a guy certainly eligible for an extension, but who starts opposite him? Last year it was Darius Slay, but then he ultimately got lapped by
Mike. It's Slay. Just remember that. Okay, keep going. He's like Madonna or Seal.
The one name guy. I love it. Yeah. Share.
Yeah. Dang, it's my turn. No, I've said 2. You need a second one before it's back to me. Continue, and I'll think of another one named individual.
So they had...
Steven said Bono.
There we go.
It's a good one. Bono's really good. It's a good one.
What about LeBron?
Oh.
He's kind of...
Nah, that counts. I think that counts. Cut out my name out of his name, but it's okay.
So with Slay gone...
There we go.
What they need now is somebody... I mean, he got lapped basically by James Pierre, who was an undrafted guy. And James Pierre played fine, but he's also going to hit free agency. Asante Samuel Jr., they brought him in thinking that, coming off of this neck surgery, that he might be the long-term answer. He also is going to be a free agent now. So you got to find who's that answer as the corner opposite. And then the other part with the DBs in the secondary is, what do you want Jalen Ramsey to be? Is he on the roster at all, first and foremost? And then beyond that, is he now a safety full-time? Is he a nickel? Is he, so I think that also could shape things. And then the other position, very sexy position, very interesting to talk about, guard, offensive guard.
Yeah, baby.
That'll
get
some Yinzers excited. And so Jennings Dunker, the guy that's got the red mullet, I mean, he was literally made to be eating a Primanti Brothers sandwich in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy. He belongs there.
Love it. Love it. I'm still trying to think of another one-named individual. Could you see, with the way that the league has kind of gone, and everything is such a copycat league here, the big nickel has been working. You brought up Jalen. Like, is that a role with the Nick Eamon Warrior, the Kyle Hamilton, or the Derwin James that has become really this chess piece? And obviously, when any team wins a Super Bowl, and that's a big part, and a certain aspect of the team is a big part of the Super Bowl, people copy. Is that a role that you could see Jalen Ramsey filling?
I think that would be the best role that he's in, and I think that he fits it for a variety of reasons. I mean, he's very physical, and that is part of his game. And he also hadn't blitzed a lot before this, but actually was very good at timing his blitzes. He is going to be a willing tackler if you put him in run support in the box. I think that would be the best use of Jalen Ramsey at this age. And the funny thing, honestly, is Terrell Austin, the former defensive coordinator, was huge into the big nickel type defenses and actually kind of got away from it recently. But I think with Patrick Graham, he is a guy that molds his defense to the personnel. He has said there is no such thing as a Patrick Graham playbook. And so I think that using Jalen Ramsey in that role makes a tremendous amount of sense.
Prince. Let's go. Prince. I love it. This is awesome, Mike. I do have to say this because it's just so unique. When Mike Tomlin has been there for so long, what has this all felt like so far as you're going into your first tentpole events where Mike Tomlin is not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Does it have a different feel here at the Combine that it's not Mike Tomlin Steelers already?
Yeah, it is very strange because he's just such a presence. I mean, you walk around the Combine and you would just see him holding court, at a certain establishments at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's Mike Tomlin, and everybody wants to just cling to him and listen to his every word. So it's going to be very different. It's just different in Pittsburgh in general to not have Mike Tomlin there. And we'll start getting a sense of what Mike McCarthy is going to be like to cover. He's going to have a off-the-record session with some local reporters this week. We're getting lunch.
Oh.
So,
lunch. Where are you guys going?
We're going to the Capitol Grill. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, my best friend is a maitre d' there, and a sommelier.
Are you for real?
Yes. Not at this one.
So if I
There's several across the country.
If I drop your name, they're going to bring out the finest bottle?
No, again,
and I can
not
just say
at
put
this
it on your tab?
location. Not at this location. I don't have a running tab at Capitol Grills across the continental United States, but I do think their food is delightful. I think you're going to have a fantastic time. This is good. Is Messi one? No. What'd you say, Mac? Sting! How did we forget Sting? I like that I've really been participating in this and Mike actually hasn't. Mike, appreciate you stopping by, man. I'll see you probably tonight at some point.
You can just, if you want, you can just call me DeFabo if you want to make me a single name.
Now you'll be a single name. We got DeFabo on the show. And now, I love it. Awesome. Good seeing you, buddy.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yep. All right, moving right along here on Scoop City. Zack Rosenblatt joins me, covers the Jets for The Athletic, and man, I read every word he writes. I just hope you know that. We were just sitting here chatting about superpowers. If you could have one superpower, Zack, what would it be?
Oh, man. Putting me on the spot there.
That was the plan?
Yeah. Teleportation.
Oh, yeah.
Just be able to go anywhere you want, snap of a finger, avoid public transit.
Yeah. Are you a travel guy?
I am. I love traveling. I do.
That's probably connected to this.
Yeah, and it would cut a lot of the time out, and you get to have more fun in a city, whereas if I'm going out west, I have to time it out and what days I'm going.
Totally true. Yeah. Nobody's we as a family, we went to Japan this summer. Nobody goes, my favorite part about going to Japan was the 13-hour plane ride.
Yeah,
that was the kicker. That was the fun part. No, let's teleport out to Japan. I dig it. I think mine might be flight, because I think that could combine teleportation and the ability.
And it's kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of rad. I would dig it. Considering the amount of time I've traveled in my life covering this league and the things that have gone wrong in airports, I think flight would be pretty dope. We're talking about superpowers with Zack because that was a key line from Aaron Glenn. Your take on his media session here is what?
That's kind of become the focus of that quote. I actually thought in the past he's done a poor job of explaining himself. It's more like he's offended why you would question him about his decisions. I'm the coach. Whereas this time I thought he did a better job of explaining his thought process. He got a lot of heat this offseason because he fired half the coaching staff, and the timing of it all, and the offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand. At first it seemed like he was safe, then all of a sudden he wasn't. And then, interviews Wink Martindale, and then the next day they interview somebody else and they hire him immediately, and Aaron Glenn's all of a sudden calling plays. It just felt like there was no plan, whereas like he came out and explained his thought process on all of it pretty well, I thought, including the play calling thing, other than him blurting out it's my superpower, which, as we were just talking about it before, like the New York Post has a photo of him now on the back page of him in like a superhero outfit.
Now I want to know what he wants as a superpower other than calling plays. He's got to have another one.
I was talking to other beat writers. They're like, they always used to tell the coaches, like, never refer to like a clown or a circus when you talk about anything, because then the back page is going to like have a field day with that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because in the moment when he said it, like it didn't like hit me that hard, because I used to cover Robert Saleh for the Jets, and superpower was like a big thing. He's like, that's so-and-so superpower. So in my head, I'm like, all right. But then every single beat writer that knows I cover the Jets is like, superpower, huh? So he that's the problem with when you're the coach of the Jets, and him specifically, because a lot of his stuff seems to go like viral and all that. Yeah. Like, you just got to watch what you say a little better.
100%. And everybody's taking every word that he says and Darren Muji says with this regime and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to build it. This is a big step with it, with the draft picks they have and where the roster stands. And obviously there's no quarterback.
Yeah.
But we know the capital that they had and the intention that they had for 27. And I think we all know here at the Combine about the class that could potentially be coming at quarterback in 27. Is that the plan? Do you expect them to be going, we need a stopgap maybe for 26? Our real future is in 27. Do you get that's the sense, or how should Jets fans be reading into this offseason?
It's really complex situation, because the first season they had was so bad. Like, in theory, all the moves they made, like, they don't make those trades at the deadline if they think they're not going to be there in 2027. But the season ends the way it does. They're, in theory, on the hot seat. And so now you have to decide, like, do we go all in on just trying to be, like, just okay this year? Like, does it make sense to, I don't know, Kirk Cousins, like, whoever, like a middle-of-the-road quarterback and win 6 games? Like, what does that do for you if you don't get in position to draft these other guys? So it's a tough spot. And I honestly, this time of the year especially, like, there's like a vacuum for everybody to figure out, like, okay, the Jets have a quarterback, so I'm going to try and report like who they want. And so you have everybody expect the Jets to go after this person, this person. Yeah. The sense I get is they really don't know who their top target is right now. Like, I think they're really trying to survey the field. I think they're going to wind up trying to get somebody who will be like a stopgap type. I don't know if that's the method I would go with, but like Kyler Murray's the one I keep going back to. I don't think he's a great fit, but I do think he's someone that they're going to talk themselves into. But I don't think they've settled on anything. Like, I really do think they're surveying who's going to be available, what we'd have to pay for them, what we'd have to trade for them, and they don't really know who they want right now.
And I think that's common, right? I was doing some reporting yesterday morning about the Browns, or similar situation. Everybody's saying, well, I heard they're looking at Ty Simpson. I heard they're looking at Malik Willis. When I talked to the decision makers in Cleveland after I heard those initial reports, it was, we don't have a quarterback. So we're looking at all the options. Like that's
everybody's reading tea leaves right now and then trying to present it as like
news. And because I was talking to one of them, they're like, well, it's not really news. Everybody should know we don't have a quarterback. So we're looking at all the quarterback options. Like that's the way we were approaching it.
The Jets are going to look at Malik Willis. Well, everybody's going to look at Malik Willis. Of course, you should be.
I heard John Eric Sullivan at the podium yesterday go, if you don't have a quarterback and you're not looking at Malik Willis, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So, like, you are looking at all of these. But the part that I find more interesting, and I want to ask you, is I use Cleveland as an example because I think everybody looked at it when they traded out of number 2 for Travis Hunter and got more draft capital moving forward. There were a lot of people around the league that goes, okay, well then Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are safe. They're planning for the future in a sense. And then you see Kevin Stefanski lose his job. So do you think, and this is a question with the Jets always, is there enough patience if this season goes terribly wrong and doesn't produce wins, that they're comfortable with, this is a long play, look at the capital they have in 27, and that might be the quarterback? Will it still be Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn?
This is like the dichotomy of like losing franchises. It's the best thing for the Jets would be to not go all in on somebody this offseason and aim toward 2027, but you have 2 people who are like, well, what about my job? So, and you have an owner who you don't know what he's going to do. So, like, maybe if they've gotten assurances, I can't imagine they've gotten like any definitive assurances at this point. It's hard. Like, the best thing is for them to aim for 2027 and just try and develop guys this year and develop your identity on offense and defense. But like Aaron Glenn specifically, like, is he going to be here to see it through, or is he just setting it up for the next coach to have this great situation? And so it's a really hard balance. And if Aaron Glenn believes himself the way he does, I imagine he doesn't even care what everybody's saying about his job security, and I think he's going to try and make decisions he thinks are the best. But like, you go and get a Kyler Murray if you're desperate to like make something happen when that's probably not going to work out. So
yeah, it's so fascinating to watch. Everybody always said that was like Pittsburgh's issue, where it's like they lived in a state of, what did my buddy Dan Hanzus always say on their Heed the Call podcast? They live in a spot of advanced mediocrity, and it's like, it's kind of
Jets fans would kill for that.
They would kill for that, right? Yes, 100%. You mentioned the identity and what they're going to be offensively, defensively. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, with Frank coming in and Frank Wright's in there, and what does he look to do? He's the comeback king, man. Like, what does he do with this offense? How do you think it will look in 26? Obviously, you don't know the quarterback, so it might be tough to answer. But
that kind of like dictates all of it. But I do get the sense that he's building off of what he wanted to do in Carolina in terms of like what the offense is. That fans might not like to hear that because how badly it went there. I think there was a lot of like external factors and internal factors, and
there was a lot going on there, man.
Yeah, there was. But I think he's taking what he knows from that. He's taking ideas from like Seth Ryan, they just hired from the Lions. Like he's offering a lot of like, he was like a big trick play guy for the Lions, Rex Ryan's son. He's offering a lot of ideas. Bill Musgrave's been around the NFL for a long time. So they're really like building it in Frank's image. But I do think a lot of it's going to be based on what quarterback they get. I mean, you could look at Frank's history and try to figure out what kind of quarterback you would want. Kyler doesn't really fit that.
No.
So that's why I'm very curious to see how they approach it. But, I think at the end of the day, Aaron Glenn wanted an offensive coordinator that he could just say, like, you take care of the offense because now I'm going to be doing the defense. And I don't know if he felt that confident enough in Tanner Engstrand to have him run that unit after only 1 year of calling plays. And, we'll see. Frank Reich hasn't called plays in the NFL since 23. That was not a good offense. At the end of Indianapolis, the offense wasn't great.
Yep.
Stanford, you can't really judge him for that. But that's like 2 or 3 years is a long time in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like things change pretty quickly. So I'm curious to see how much he's learned and how much more of a modernized offense he'll bring to the table. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously he's going to want to be surrounded by as many talented players as possible. Do you keep the running back? Do you let him walk in free agency? What is the thought on Breece Hall? And my 2 cents is this. I was out to dinner with a shameless plug head coach last night, and he asked me, hey, what are the Jets going to do with Breece Hall? And I was like, I think they're going to tag him. And obviously you know more about this inside the Jets than I do. And I said that to him, and he goes, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Really?
I don't think he's that good anymore.
Interesting.
And I countered with, I feel like they need some good players.
That's where I was going to go. So I think that's probably where they're not going to let him leave. Like they're not going to let him walk away. I think they gave that away when at the deadline it got out that all these teams were offering them. They didn't offer a lot, but teams were trying to trade for him, and they said no. So if you do that, then you just let him walk for nothing. Like that's pretty bad. But it's it goes back to what you were just saying. Whether Breece wants to be with the Jets or not is one question, but the Jets don't have enough good players to just let them leave right now. So if Breece Hall is on your roster, running back is not a hole. If he leaves, you have to fill running back, you have to fill quarterback. You need a second wide receiver. You might need a guard, depending on what you do. You need defensive linemen, linebackers, and secondary. So, like, how
many fingers did you just use?
I ran out of fingers.
You ran out of fingers.
But so that's where I'm at. Like, I don't think Breece is like a star. Like, I think he's a solid NFL running back. And they need solid NFL. And if you have Breece in that offense, it's an interesting offense at least because you have Garrett Wilson, you have Breece, you have Mason Taylor at tight end. They have a pretty solid O-line, and that's a pretty good habitat to drop a quarterback into in theory.
I think so. And listen, I don't want to overstate. Like this guy wasn't saying like Breece Hall isn't good anymore.
Yeah.
He just knows the number of the tag, which is over 14 million, right? Right.
It's like 14.3 or something.
Yeah. And he's sitting there going like, I think he's good. He also added, I think before the knee injury, I was in love with him.
I agree. He lost a little of that explosiveness.
Yeah, that was kind of his take, and he just, obviously is. Everybody here at Indy is evaluating value. And that's kind of it.
And by the way, this is going to be like the first real offseason we learn what like kind of GM Muji is in terms of like what he values, what he's willing to pay for, because they have so much cap space. They have all these draft picks, and they have all these needs. So, like, we're really going to find out what kind of GM he is this offseason.
Would you think he would do a move that was similar to, like, when I mentioned value, the first name that pops into my head is Mac Jones? Would he trade a third for Mac Jones when your quarterback's making then $5 million or 4.6 or whatever Mac's on the tab for this year?
It's a good question. I would personally. I'm intrigued at the idea of Mac Jones because he's one of the few options that, in theory, could be your quarterback beyond this year. There's not that many of those this year. Malik's another one. I don't think Malik Willis is realistic for the Jets. I would do that. I don't know. That's one thing I can't get a read on how they feel about Mac Jones, and there's also going to be a lot of interest in him. I think
there will be.
There's a lot of teams where he makes sense. Like the Vikings make a lot of sense. Like all these teams with the Shanahan, McVay type offenses
for sure.
But I mean, it would make a lot of logical sense. But they don't have a 3rd round pick, and they have 2 second-round picks. So
if you're giving up a 2, I think John Lynch is not hanging up on you.
Exactly, yeah. And they're pretty good seconds. Like they have a number 33 and number 44. So.
Yeah, those are quality. Yeah, those are real quality. Okay. All right. Well, we'll still figure it out. We have an entire offseason to get to the bottom of this. Zach will be all over it. Appreciate it, brother, stopping by. I've seen you every night here at the Combine, which has been kind of nice, hasn't it?
Yeah. That's why we love it. I
can see the smile on your face.
One of the best parts about the Combine is just running into media friends too, honestly. We're all sourcing and stuff, but then we all get to catch up too.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out because it seems like this is also the place where everybody likes to look past your shoulder to see if there's somebody better to talk to.
And you always feel bad while you're doing it, but
you just admitted you're doing it.
The worst is when you finish one convo and then the people you were talking with, you turn around and they're all gone. You're like, oh, so I got it. So I got to find someone to talk to.
So I just got. Yeah. Oh man, awesome. All right, well, hopefully that doesn't happen to me tonight with Zach. It's good seeing you, buddy.
Good seeing you.
Moving on with Scoop City here, we have the one and the only Paul Denner Jr., and Paul covers the Bengals better than anybody on the planet Earth. I'm just going to start with that right there. Now you have only to go down, Paul, as we go through this conversation. You had a chance to spend some time with Duke Tobin yesterday. I think the off-the-podium stuff is usually where the goods are, in so a sense. Did you get any idea of kind of where he wants to go starting in free agency and then towards the draft, and how we fix things specifically maybe on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, well, that's the side. I mean, their plan this offseason is nice in one way in that it's simple. I mean, their whole offense is essentially back and great. And so you feel like all of that's set. You don't really need to worry about that side of the ball outside of some small pieces. But the defense, you need to fix just about everything. And so they need floor raisers in so many ways, which is kind of what free agency offers them, is players that can come in and play at a starting level. They just didn't have starting level players on their defense last year, and that was apparent. If you watched them, it settled down towards the end of the year, but they need more pass rush. They need some veteran presence to stabilize what was unbelievably 2 rookie linebackers that started next to each other, which just literally never happens. You have to go all the way back to 2012 to find 2 rookie linebackers that play that many snaps next to each other in this. You can't do it. And in today's game, where so much of it is about understanding what's happening at that position, their heads were just spinning. You've got to bring stabilization there. You have to bring some stabilization to the back end and not just allow explosive play after explosive play with the game on the line, and it's costing you games. And so it's about finding those players. They use the term force multiplier a lot yesterday.
I've heard that,
that can help the young players that they do have, because they've invested a ton of young resources on the defensive side of the ball that haven't necessarily all come along. And that can maybe help stabilize things so that those players can start to be what gives them their ceiling. I mean, inevitably, that's what it's going to be. You're not going to go out and find stars in free agency. And unfortunately for them this year at number 10 overall, you're probably not going to find a star for this year in the draft where they needed to defensively. It's just unless things totally fall their way. And so finding those guys that can help bring their floor up, I think, is where it starts, and that starts in free agency, which is going to be a massive week for them.
Does that start in a specific area? Is it D-tackle? Is it stopping the run? We know that was obviously a huge issue last year. Where is it when you look at maybe? I mean, I know John Franklin Myers is kind of at the top. And then you never know how aggressive you want to be in terms of dollars in free agency. I don't know if that player is there at 10. When you look up front, what do you see?
Well, they need pass rush, and that's kind of been, they haven't hid that's what they feel like. If they can get that, a lot of other things can fall into place behind it. They haven't had that. It's been a problem for years. Now, they had Trey Hendrickson and no one else. And then last year they didn't really have Trey Hendrickson. And so now they really won't have Trey Hendrickson. So you're trying to figure out how to make that work. That's where it has to start. The problem is, I mean, they haven't really had a true game-wrecking defensive tackle since Geno Atkins retired, and he's like literally up for the Hall of Fame now. Like it's been a long time, is what I'm saying. And so and if they can't find, it's just not hard. It's so hard to find those guys, and it's just not readily available right now. Even if it's like a guy like JFM, I mean, because it's so scarce out there. I mean, you're now in a bidding war in free agency. That's not a place the Bengals live or succeed.
No, and that's not the way these things work usually. Why was John Franklin Myers in the position he's in now? Because Denver went and got him for a, 6th round pick, I think, from the Jets, and put him in a good situation, and didn't put themselves in a situation where you oftentimes, when you're the second team, you're the overpaying team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think that's probably their focus, but really they need veterans at every level. But I think it starts with the pass rush. It starts with adding guys up front, players that can. The other side of it is they drafted Shamar Stewart in the first round last year. He got hurt early. He had obviously all the offseason stuff.
It took him forever to get there.
Didn't practice. He wasn't practicing during OTAs because of his dumb squabble, and he wasn't practicing during the season because he was hurt. He had multiple injuries, and he was already a raw guy that needed the reps anyway. So he looked lost, and he was lost. But they're not going to block him. No. So you're not going to sign somebody that's going to start over top of him. Miles Murphy did come along last year. Yeah. He is going to be the starter on the other side. And so you need someone that can, help augment your pass rush but not block Shamar Stewart, which is hard when edge is the easiest thing to go acquire. The good news is, Shamar is versatile. You can use him inside and out a little bit more. So I've been pointing out a guy like Draymond Jones because he's an inside-outside guy that could play off of Shamar that way, where they both could sort of play, and you're not blocking him, but you are bringing in more pass rush. There's a couple guys like that. That's probably where you would look for them to get creative with that. But that's what they need to do. They need to bring guys into the pass rush, but inevitably, you can't block your young players. You're dependent on those guys developing and being a part of the solution.
That's why I like when the term is used, force multiplier, because Draymond Jones is kind of that. This will make the group better.
Yes.
In the middle of free agency is, to me, oftentimes the smarter way to build at times. How do we find the piece, not the overpaying top of free agent? Draymond is a very versatile player and a rotational player and can help you. He helped things in Baltimore there after that trade went down this past year. Where do you see them going then at 10? Are we going to see somebody staying in the state of Ohio? The chances are, with the number of them, not terrible.
No, I mean, they would love if any number of those Ohio State, if they could just take the whole Ohio State defense actually and just bring it up. I think Caleb Downs would be a dream. I don't know that that's happening, but they're just hoping that everyone thinks that you can't take a safety in the top 10 and he's there at 10, and it would make all the sense in the world. Yeah. I mean,
they're comfortable taking him at 10. That would be completely fine. Some teams are like, well, I can't take him at 5. He's a safety.
I don't see that. I mean, and also, I mean, they see firsthand, we've talked a lot about the new third safety star nickel position. Eamon Worry, Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, right in their own backyard, that they've seen a lot, and they love the idea of that. They don't have the idea of that, so there'd be no question that they would be open to implementing that as a big part of their defense. They would be in on Caleb Downs for sure. But if Ruben Bain found a way to make it like any of those edge rushers, the interesting one that I keep falling back to though is that one that probably would surprise people, and that's corner. Because they have DJ Turner and Dax Hill, who I think they want to build around, but both of them are in the last year of their deals. They're going to try to extend them, but who knows what happens with that. And you always need the depth, and they just, if that's the best player and it's a premium defensive position, you're drafting for the future, and you're also drafting for what you need, and that's December and January. If one of those guys gets hurt or whatever, or they outplay somebody, you need somebody that can keep your defense on top when Joe Burrow is trying to go win in January, which is where they believe that they will be. They've done this in the past, in last decade, in 2014, 2016, and in 2012, they took first-round corners that sat behind starters. They've done it. They did it 3 times in a 6-year period. And this is the same, ownership and front office. So you could see something like that happen, and you could see a world where those guys are the top of their board if all those top edge rushers and defensive guys get swiped out in front of them, and they're like, okay, and I think that might surprise people to know that corner would be at the top of their board there.
I love that. I also I was speaking to a head coach last night who was like, don't be surprised. We may have Caleb Downs as our number 1 player in this draft. which is not speaking out of turn by any stretch, but you're right. Some people just go like safety, but you mentioned the way the league has kind of morphed and the way that chess piece to counter offenses has been so valuable now in the way it's used. Where is this regime at heading into 2026? I feel like the eyes of the NFL are somewhat on the Bengals, Paul. Like, is there pressure on Zach? Is there pressure on Duke? Is there pressure on everyone involved? Does this seem like a crux year?
I mean, this is the ultimate crossroads year. Yeah. I mean, they have had everything pointing towards now. It has to happen now. They hired Al Golden last year as defensive coordinator, came in, and there was disconnect in connecting the personnel that he needed to his system, and it never matched. It went terribly. I think they feel like they have a much better understanding now of the type of players he needs and how he would plan on using them. Year two for a defensive coordinator can be a big one, obviously. They're counting on that. Zach Taylor has all of these pieces back. He's got Dan Pitcher's offensive coordinator is back. He's got everything happening on an offense that they built together around Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Like, you can't be better set up than that. You know what you need on defense. Everything else has changed around them in the AFC North. The opportunity for continuity to be weaponized has never been more in front of you than it is right now. If you can't do it now, they're going to say you're never going to be able to do it in the time for change. Even in Cincinnati, where it doesn't really ever happen, it feels like it's here. Like, this is it. It's either now or never with this group, and then there's going to be a lot of big changes if they can't do it. Or they're like, you're our guy for a long time if they can go back and get back to the 21, 22 seasons where they were consistently there at the end of the year. And, hovering over all of that is, can they keep Joe Burrow healthy? If they feel like if they can for a full season, they'll be in that mix.
Okay. Before we go, you mentioned Joe Burrow, and I can't believe we haven't mentioned him yet. We were joking before we started. Like, I think you're right. Everybody around the league is, how happy is Joe Burrow? You're with him every day. You're there every minute. You're in the building. That's why we love doing this on Scoop City with everybody who's just, you guys are the best at what you do in terms of knowing the feel for players and buildings. What is the feel around Joe right now? Is he happy? Obviously he's frustrated. Is it enough, though, I think people around the league are wondering, to where he'd go, at some point, I'd like to play elsewhere?
No, I mean, not soon. I think the bottom line is he has spent the last few years scoring 1 million points, losing games, and getting hurt. He's frustrated. He wants to win. Like, I think he's perfectly happy. He just wants to win. And he's had too many times where they've gone out there and, you lose 42-41 or 39-38, and that wears on you. It gets old. And he worked all the way back this year. They'd only won one game while he was out. And he's in Buffalo, and they're having an almost perfect game. He makes one mistake, and they end up losing after scoring 30-plus again. And it just wears on you, and I think it makes you go places. When you're in a long rehab, and that's challenging enough mentally, and you're thinking about how you're losing, it's frustrating. He used the term a lot, like, you think about a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily mean he's thinking about getting out of here tomorrow. It means you just start thinking about all that stuff when the things that have happened most is you're getting hurt and you're losing when you feel like you shouldn't. And so they just, again, it's back to the same thing. All pressure on this year. If you just go and win, everybody there will be happy. Yeah. Jamar Chase, they all signed up to play together because they love playing together. Jamar and T are best friends. Joe and Jamar and T, like, they want this. They want this to work. They want it. They want to win here. They just need to win here. They just haven't done that in recent years.
I'm fascinated by what's going to happen this season, and you'll be there every step of the way.
Yeah.
Paul, appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.